Yo, 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 welcome everybody to TCR Trinity Competitive Racing, and welcome to round number 4 for the Qatar Grand Prix under the lights. Here for the Elite Series, and as always in Season 17, it is myself, C. Freeze, bringing you all through tonight's proceedings. It is just me, myself, and I, as my co-commentator Halberg had some unforeseen emergencies. So hopefully everything is doing okay with him, and we can get him or a co-com back in the booth with me for next week, which we are at Bahrain next week. So we stay in the Middle East under the lights once more. That is next week, Bahrain. But for the time being, we have 17 drivers out on track. One more is joining us through quali. That would be Just Jose. He got stuck in traffic, so he will be joining better late than never. So we'll have 18 drivers on display here tonight. And we are both live on the YouTube and the Twitch. We encourage you guys to watch on your preferred platform. And last night was the Challenger Series. If anybody is interested in joining in racing on the grid, you can definitely do so. We have a lot more seats in the Challenger Series. It's our mixed assist entry-level series for TCR. We do have some reserve and full-time seats in the Elite Series, which is tonight, racing line only. TCR's top division for the F1 Series. And yeah, all that good stuff's in the description, the website, our Discord, at Trinity Racing on all the socials, so have fun at that. We just released a new podcast, episode 40, yesterday morning. We ranked, Camden and myself, ranked the 2024 F1 car liveries in order from our preference. 10th to 1st, which was a very fun discussion, so go check that out. That was yesterday morning, the Racing Debrief T-Shirts podcast. Yeah, so that's what we got all on display tonight. All the announcements are, for the most part, out of the way. We're on board KD 1997. As he goes through this final sector. KD had a nice finish last week with the 3-tire special at Canada. He finished 5th. And already in the 120s, which I was just in a practice session with some of the guys from the Freeze Foundation, Raikkonen, FND Cakes, and Camden, and we were setting some laps, and I decided I'd plop the old steering wheel on and give it a shot, and did maybe 2 flying laps, and I did 21.5, so definitely off the pace, but for 2 laps around Qatar. I will say, it's a fun qualifying effort, and I was predicting that the pole time will be low 120s. I'm thinking 20.3. But seeing as though Silent already has a 20.7 on the board in the Alfa Romeo, who scored his first podium last week out, finished P3. First podium in an actual feature race. I know he did P3 in the sprint to open the season out in Mexico. Let's see who else we got. Bats Plus reserving here tonight. He'll be in the Alpha Tauri. We got a Williams stopped on track. That's Kluka. Probably letting some drivers by after his invalid lap time. He is a Challenger full-time series driver who won last night. So he was your last night's winner. He's reserving here tonight, and it seems to be a concurrent theme that he's either reserving or my co-commentator. And I kind of like someone to talk to tonight throughout this broadcast, but he can have fun and go race. His teammate Pilot is also a Challenger Series driver, and this is another reserve drive from him. So we like to see that the lower drivers reserving upwards. He was runner-up last night. It was a 1-2 for Williams. It was interesting. Pilot was actually leading the race for most of it, and he was running out of fuel towards the end of the race. His teammate was right behind him. He was closing in the gap, and in the final corner, right around... Nope, that's not the final corner. Well, whenever the final corner is. He, right before the final corner, he kind of just let his teammate by, and he finished right behind him. So I don't know if he let him by, or if he was trying to re-overtake him on the long straight, because the start-finish line, if you could see on the bottom right of the track map, is significantly down the straightaway. So even on the final lap, you can grab the DRS and use that to your advantage to the racing line to finish the lap. So just because you're second or following another driver to finish the race, you can still do a nice overtake up until the start-finish line, which is all the way right there. So that is a significant way down, as Pilot is starting his lap here today. If I'm not mistaken, I think we have another Aston Martin, and that is Sir Charles who joined this session. He should be getting in his seat. So we'll have actually 19 drivers. Let's see where some of the heavy hitters are. Forzan is on an outlap. Finished runner-up as he almost runs into the back of the Alpine of GTR Lion. He was runner-up to Lawrence last week, and that was Lawrence's last appearance for the time being, as he has other commitments. So Forzan, real big competition is going to be his teammate Silent. Other than that, Forzan, if he's prepared and ready to go, he's going to go on an absolute tear in this season. As long as he keeps his head clean, doesn't make any mistakes, this whole thing could get wrapped up real quick. And we will go through the championship order as the time being. That would be Forzan in first with 79 points, to Lawrence with 68. Then there's a big drop-off to Professional, which has 33. GTR Lion has 31. And Beamer, a reserve driver, with 27. You have KD with 24, Silent with 21. And you can see the big difference there. Silent has 21 points down in 7th, and Forzan has 79. And obviously we have to keep in mind that we're only counting the driver's best 12 races out of 14. So assuming Silent gets better finishes down the stretch of this season, he can easily pull his way back in this, because his first 2 rounds he barely scored nothing. So another good lap there by Remsley, goes second to 20.8, third driver into the 20s. Bats plus. 4th driver into the 20s, slots himself 3rd. Good lap time by him. Let's see what Forzan could do. He's going to be finishing his lap here. He used all of his battery, which is something unique to Qatar. And I'll explain that in a minute as he goes P3. If you use all of your hot lap battery on your qualifying lap, at some point you're going to run out, and that's what Forzan just did. All of his battery ran out on the start-finish straight because he didn't alter it throughout his lap. But if you are a little bit more strategic, let's say, and maybe through some of the slower corners you turn your battery off just to conserve it, then you can actually use your battery on the straight and gain more time. So maybe a little bit misfortune there. But look at this. Kluka with a 20.8 as a Challenger Series driver. And that is a handy lap time, especially from him. And he's got... And the good thing about him setting it now is he still has another lap that he can go out on for his final run to improve upon. So very impressed by that lap time. Last night's winner, and I think once we released the schedule saying that we were going to come to this track, I think Kluka was really happy because this is his favorite track, and I guess one of his best as well. And I'm sure once he goes into the pit lane here, he might be going down to Camden Luca's room, knocking on the door, and maybe shove it in his face that he's up there in third as a Challenger Series driver, as Camden, elite driver, yet to set a lap time. You know who I want to see do something this race? Zionical. I think he's been pretty quiet to start the season as a silver champion from last season. He didn't get the opportunity to run a full-time season in the Golden class, but he did reserve, and then we switched the series and class names. So obviously a lot tougher grid than what a previously known Golden class would be. But I think he could, make some noise. Let's see where he is on the old standings. Zionical is P16, only has 2 points. So I'm expecting some good races soon from him. Invalid lap time. I was just going to say, it looks like he's a little offline there. Jose is going to have to abort that lap time. He was on a flyer, and with, let's see how much time's left in the session. 3:45, so he has enough time to come back in, switch some tires, get some more fuel in, and go at it again. And that's an invalid as well. It's easy to invalidate there, but I guess it's good. It's right before the pit lane, so if you do, you can jump right back in and get some new tires. Everybody's in the pit lane, and pretty soon we're going to have a long conga line for everybody to start their final laps. Bats Plus is on an out lap. He's going to be the lead driver here, and he's got to be careful of when he starts his lap time, because if all these drivers start to leave the pits, he can get some traffic on his flyer. There you have it. A Ferrari is leading the pack. That will be You Having a Giggle. a seasoned veteran in TCR, over 100 race starts, as his teammate calling it quits for the quali can do no better than 16th. And here comes Bats now, so he is on a flyer. We'll see what he can do as everybody else sets their lap times. We're running out of time here, so it's really up for anybody to get that coveted pole position to start this race in P1. We have an Alpha letting by. It's a very nice flowing track, a very high speed track. Qualifying here is, you gotta be on it. You have to use every bit of the track. Picks up some cheeky slipstream, not that it'll do you much. Especially through here. The triple right, easy, middle, pretty easy. This is where it gets tough. You have to spot it. He downshifts, which is interesting. Because it's, oh, and he invalidates very easily too. That could have been very avoided. That was just on entry there. So he will do no better than a 20.9. And look at this, a little team games through Haas. Camden, finishing his lap time, picks up some slipstream from his teammate, which definitely was orchestrated. And that was from Raikkonen. Good stuff, Freeze Foundation. Look at this, we're helping each other out. This is the guy we gotta watch for, Zan. Currently P4. Just 2/10 off, and I'm predicting these times to drop significantly, down to a 20.3, possibly, and for Zan up around 3/10, so we might miss that marginally. But coming through here, a little downshift, keeps it within the white lines. Final corner, uses a little bit of the entry on the curb. Oh, and he has a little bit of moment, and he goes wide and invalidates it, and that is it. But it would have been a 20.3, and that is exactly where I was predicting it. But let's see if his teammate can do the 20.3 and extend on his provisional pole. And he can. So he would have matched his teammate. I don't know about what lap it would have been by Forzan. I only knew it was 0.3. I don't know about the other 2 decimal points, but very good stuff from there. Professional, marginally up on his time. Can he get into the 20s? And no, he cannot. So that is going to be everybody in qualifying. And it is Silent who picks up pole position for the Qatar Grand Prix, and right on cue is what I was predicting, a 20.3. He was able to keep the lap valid, and his teammate would have done almost an identical time. So both Alfa Romeos are going to be ones to watch in this race. Again, a little shout out to Kluka, who finished in P3 with a flyer of a time from a Challenger Series driver reserving here tonight. But there you have it, about a half a second over the field. Interesting enough, Beamer and GTR Line down in 10th and 11th. They're usually more towards the top 5, but obviously look how tight the times are. They're going to have a little bit of work to do to get where they usually run. from the last few races to start this season. And it's Dirt Shark finishing in 19th. Zyonical not even good enough to get into the 21, so he might have had some trouble. And Jose as well, so those are a little bit shocking, these two. As the drivers are loading up their setups. We are waiting to start the race. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in, or if you're re-watching as a driver, I appreciate it. The days of F123 are almost over. As you know what? Pretty soon we're going to get some info about the new game, which I know this has not been the best game, but we're looking for brighter horizons. Hopefully F124 gives us a better game to work with as a league, as a community. Because I've definitely seen within the last 2 game cycles, it's definitely taken a hit. And we've felt it here in TCR and pretty much all throughout the community here. But we'll see what EA and Codemasters bring us, which is always interesting. But yeah, we usually get that info around a couple months still. Probably maybe more April, May is when we really start getting a lot of that info. But around now is when we could be getting some of the leaked information. There we go. Look at that. What a sight. Alright, 19 drivers for the Qatar Grand Prix. Those are the tires, and there's a little bit of a mixture. A few drivers starting on the soft tires. That'll be the 2 Williams, Kluka Pilot, and Raikkonen down in 12th. Some drivers up front opting for the hard tires, going a little long ball in this race. Bats Plus is really the only driver on mediums towards the front. Beamer down in 10th, and a few drivers up the rear on some mediums. This means it is prediction time. So yeah, if you're watching, leave your top 3 if you want to predict with me your top 3 finishers. It's going to be hard to go against Forzan. I think he's just on it. So I'm really going to have to go with him, because I really haven't seen much. I think Silent is just a little tick off. So I think Forzan, has been the strongest driver. He'll be able to get back up there quite easily. And I think he'll be the race winner here tonight. And I'm actually going to put Silent for P2. I think it's going to be an Alfa Romeo 1-2. Silent has the pace. I think after his podium last week, he'll ride that momentum. And he'll definitely challenge for the win, but I think I got him P2. And I like KD for 3rd. I think he'll get a podium here tonight. When he raced last season in the Golden class, early on in the season, he was absolutely rapid. So I think he has a shot here to get a podium. What up, Abratus? Yeah, Bats looks good too. I think he could get a podium. But that is all what we're going to find out in 29 laps. 29 laps later. As the lights start ticking on any moment here. Thank you all for tuning in. This is round 4 for the Qatar Grand Prix here in the Elite Series. And as always, Season 17. C-Phrase with the call. Let's do it. As the drivers get away all nicely as we have a spin in the back, and that's already Zionical. Oh, he binned it off the line. Luckily didn't hit the wall and retire. That would have been quite embarrassing. But it's silent from Remsley, from Forza, and from Kluka. Bat stays up in 5th. As they're side by side through here, this is Beamer and KD. Maybe bumping wheels a little bit, even off track at times. And already single file, you cannot go too wide through here. Through the hairpin, a late dive by the AlphaTauri. And that is Beamer, who is still side by side with KD, now trying to go around the outside. He's going to run out of room. Who's got the momentum? They're really not giving up here. KD's going to have the inside line. He'll have it. Pilot looking between the two of them. One's going off, and Pilots might get... Oh, I thought for a moment he could have made it 3 wide, but this is where you really can't go side by side. And these drivers are really not giving any bit of the room. Oh, a Pilot. Oh, he got turned in on. He's into the gravel. And I don't know really whose fault that was, because Beamer was trying to go side by side in an unprecedented spot. And, you know, as a pilot, you probably can... knew that was going to something was going to happen, but he was very close to the action. Unfortunately, got spun around there. Very aggressive on lap 1, but it is silent from Remsley, who had some disconnection issues last week. So it's good to see him up towards the front, which is awesome to see. There's one DRS zone that is on the start-finish straight, and it is powerful, and you can definitely be used to keep with other drivers ahead. Remsley very close. Very close to the rear of Silent. I like the pressure he is signaling to Silent here. He's saying, I got the pace here today. Let's get a move on. And I think he might try and make a move here even without DRS. Oh, he lifts off there. He actually gives it back to Silent, so it's an Alfa Romeo sandwich, Alpine in the middle, as we have a yellow in the back. That is Zionical, who just did not get off the line great, and he's having some issues back there. Jose is just pitted as well. GT back in 15th, which is unprecedented, so he must have had some issues on the opening few laps there. Losing a few positions. Moving up here. Camden in 10th, the last points paying position. He's got Rockstar behind him. Professional ahead of him, and his teammate 2 spots up. Now, I was in a practice session before this. We actually ran around 10 laps or so, and Räikkönen did start on those soft tires in that practice session, and they kind of went to around lap 7, lap 8 is where I'm thinking these soft tires can last till. The tire wear, the tire temperatures could be a problem. The tire wear especially. The tire tire wear especially. The tire temperature might not be so much of a problem if you have the right setup on and you keep, you take care of your stuff. Beamer, the first driver here tonight with a time penalty, and I'll tell you what, that's not going to be the last one. That's another thing tricky about this track. It is the track limits, the extensions primarily. Got to keep all those tires in those white lines. Not all of them, but at least 2 of them. Got to keep your hands in your legs in the vehicle at all times. And literally from Remsley down to GTR Lion, it is a 15-car train. That's what I love to see. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Seafreeze will be back in the seat sooner rather than later, and I cannot wait to join the end of this very long train until I can get back at it, as Silent wants to be the conductor here. He'll take over. A little bit of battling back here. Who's this? Rockstar and Camden swerving down the straight, maybe breaking a little bit of the slipstream. You know, if one moves towards the inside, they all move towards the inside. They're trying to pick up that draft. But that is really nice to see early on this race that all the drivers are relatively sticking together, even with all these tires difference throughout the field. Top 3 on the hards, and then you just have a pure mixture all the way down. Give that a few more laps, and then you'll start to see some gaps form up, as you almost have a second gap here with Kluka to the top 3. Those soft tires maybe not producing as much grip, and there you have it. That's the gap that the top 3 is pulling away from. And Bats Plus and company wants to get by Kluka as fast as possible to try and continue their race with the top 3. Remsley will take over. We also have Beamer on the Kluka. Oh, Bats Plus rather. Bats Plus takes over from Kluka, so he was able to do that relatively easily. And look at that, only a few tenths from Forzan sticking that DRS zone, and he'll get that. He'll use his battery throughout this lap. He'll get through there, which is very smart by Bats Plus. Especially the top 3 are so close together. It's very easy to gain some time there. And Bats is a smart driver. This is racecraft knowledge right there. He got past Kluka because he needed to. He's 1.4 seconds back. He needs to get within that second if he wants to stick with the top 3, get a chance for this podium or a win. And he's doing what he has to do to get within that second. That's a experienced driver right there. I mean, he knows what he has to do, but he has to execute it at the DRS detection zone, which is right there. So he does get DRS. He might have went wide on exit. Might have picked up a warning. Oh, KD spun on the final corner. Oh, we have a DNF. Oh, tires off. The DRS sign is gone. Styrofoam's all over the place, and we have a safety car. Man, the tire's still there. I know somebody's cheap ass is probably going to park on the side, take that car and use it as a spare, because you might need it. I think Cyanical, if you're going around Cyanical, not to hate to pick on you, but you haven't had the brightest of starts. You might want to park next to that tire and lug it around with you, just in case, you know. And that's really unfortunate by KD. I had him for P3. He was one of my picks. He was one of my guys, you know. And we just lost one of our guys. I'm getting a little emotional here. I don't know if I could do any more tonight. Apprentice asks, would Alfa Romeo be in a voice chat? I do believe they do. They voice chat up them too, so I think they have voice communications. And let me tell you, that is a pure one-way conversation. If Forzan is in a party, sorry Forzan, but the guy likes to talk. And look at this. Everybody's taking advantage of this. This was a very timely caution for a safety car. And the entire grid's going to take advantage of it. So there's really no advantage here. The only thing you got to watch out is the double pits. So Forzan's going to lose some time. He'll lose some positions as the second driver pitting. And Aston Martin as well. You can see Rockstar has to wait for his teammate to get serviced before he does. Rockstar will lose some time, as well as Dirt Shark. So that will shuffle the order a little bit. See, Bats Plus picked up a position on Forzan, so he only lost one position. Raikkonen up to 5th, so he gained a lot in that sequence. Professional as well, up to 6th. GTR Lion at one point was P15 on the opening few laps. He's up to 9th. But the biggest loser right here, and he's doing a little dance. Get the disco ball out. That is a glitch. And he is DQ'd. That is unfortunate. He just disconnected, and I think that was his AI car doing all of the hokey pokey. That was either the hokey pokey or the Cotton Eye Joe. I don't know which one that was. But unfortunate. Good qualifying by Kluka, but unfortunately the disconnect happened, and now he's DQ'd. Poor Zionicle. 8 laps in, he's still trying to catch back up to the queue. But you know what? This is a fighter. This is a racing driver right here, because I know he's going to fight back and stick in this as long as he can. And you know what? By the end of this race, I wouldn't be surprised if he grabs himself a point. Sometimes those are I wouldn't say the funner races, but those are maybe the harder races, when you have a lot go on early on in the race, and then it takes you the entire race to gain back all the time, all the positions, to get your track position, to just grab a point. Sometimes that is harder to do than just going out and winning the thing by 20 seconds. So, see what the McLaren driver could do. The lone McLaren driver, his teammate is not here tonight. Let me see who that is, actually. That would be Whisper. GTM Whisper is not here tonight. that's what happened. I thought that's KD saying that he got punted by Beamer. So that means Beamer is possibly pending a penalty of some sort. So he's down in 10th at the moment. But I actually thought the final corner, my instinct was maybe it was just a spin by himself, because it is a pretty common spot to spin the car in the final corner. But another common way is getting hit by another driver as well. So, anywho, safety car's back in this lap, and we are ready to go. And look at Forzan timing this literally to a T. You can't do that any better. I mean, passing, you can't pass before the start-finish line, and he timed it to an absolute T. Caught Bats napping, and wow. You can't time it any more perfectly, as now Bats is on the defensive because he's got Raikkonen trying to overtake him. Wow. That's some good stuff right there. So I'm saying, you guys can all run quick, get the good lap times, the racecraft. You can know everything you want to know. You can execute your game plan, but it comes down to these little things that really win you positions and win you the race. What Forzan did, which is a nice camera shot, cool helmet. That stuff you really can't practice. That stuff you just have to do with your instinct. Also doesn't help, Bats is on the hard tire as well, so he's going to have, see everybody around him? They all got the yellow stuff on. He's the only one with the white stuff. So he's going to have a little less grip for the remainder of this race, but he'll be able to get to the end of the race where the other drivers will start to struggle. They might not even make it to the end. So this is might hurt right now, but we'll see how it is later on in this race. Aerial coverage sponsored by TCR. I'm actually surprised we don't have as many penalties throughout the grid. We only have 3 drivers with penalties, and if you look at it, there's only 1 per driver at the moment with 3 seconds. So for the time being, drivers are staying within the track limits. Professional picking up a position there on Raikkonen, as well as Beamer tried to go on Rockstar, didn't work. Nice pack right there. Now, if you watched last week's race, nice camera shot as well. Nice white and pink helmet. If you run cockpit, that is a similar camera style of what you would see. Not quite, though. But if you watched last week, Canada, a lot more technical street park track circuit. There was a lot of gaps. The race went green the entire way, 35 laps. So you saw a lot of gaps form here. It is a technical track, but a lot more mid to high speed. Less stop and go. Less chicanes. less corners to separate the grid, and that's why you're seeing a huge train, especially in this mid-pack. So Rockstar got a little bit of a wiggle there. Beamer will take advantage, as does GTR Lion. Might get both of them. And while GT makes himself up into the top 10, his teammate is leading the charge over the two Alfa Romeos. Very close there. Forzan almost hitting the back of Silent. If you look at the batteries, 75%, 85%, 94%. These drivers all have pace. That's what that tells me. No one's bluffing there. Everybody's got... They all got the goods. They all got the goods. And I don't want to jinx anything, but Remsley is making a name for himself, being up here, battling with these two heavy hitters. This is what I was interested in seeing. When we formed the Golden class and the Platinum class, when we renamed it in this season as the newly formed Elite Series, seeing some drivers from the Golden class and the Platinum class on the same grid now in the Elite Series, where will the drivers stack up? And Remsley is doing a hell of a name for himself, because he is maybe had a rough few races to start this thing, but round 4 is pretty impressive. So we have a yellow in the back. That is Zionical once more. Very uncharacteristic of him. Could be tire temp issues as well. I mean, I don't know how much practice he did with the setup, but if he keeps spinning, could just be that his setup is not right. That's what I might bring it down to. Remsley re-overtakes for P1. These are just very easy overtakes. No one's using battery here. They're just content running this pace, and you know, the slipstream and the DRS is too powerful to block it. Use battery. So as the lead driver, you know you're going to get overtaken after each straightaway goes. So, and there you have it. Zionical, third retirement. He does it in the pit lane. Something was not right in that McLaren, so that's probably a good idea to call it quits at that point. He might have picked up any damage, maybe on the opening lap as well. That could be another guess. Some damage that is not fixable, costing him some lap time. But hopefully he gets his stuff back together later on in this season. We can see some points from him. Silent takes back over the lead. As the top two keep changing, and Forzan's just staying in third. Sir Charles around the outside. Doesn't make it stick. He'll stay in ninth. Good race so far from F&D. He's up in seventh. Professional makes it up into the top 4. Forzan passes Remsley. That's for second. And Forzan gives it back. And now there's a gap up front. That what just happened? I feel like I missed a chapter. Well, there's a gap formed. I wonder what that was. Oh, Beamer again, man. He's this time with the Haas, reckoning down to 8th. Getting spicy in this midfield. I can feel the tension a little bit. This is the part of the race where you put your head down and you just start drilling these laps in. That's all these guys are doing right now. I mean, when you're in this train, not much you can do, but these guys are just going to work for the most part. All over the back of F&D. Expecting a dive in the hairpin here. Nope, not close enough. Lock the front left. Definitely get him on the main straight. F&D has the lead driver here. Let's see it. Beamer should get F&D here quite easily. He'll clear him in turn 1. GTR and Raikkonen. This is for 8th. Raikkonen holds on to the position. This is pretty cool. I mean, I'm actually pretty impressed. This train is like, they're all hitting their marks. They look good out there, is what I'm trying to say. You know, they're all in uniform. They come here. They're prepared. I mean, this is pretty cool. They know what they're doing. I just feel the intensity, the laps they're putting down. And I expect this thing to stay green till the end. I mean, the only way I could see is somebody dives into the pits. That's Beamer. They'll bring in Rockstar and Giggle. Change at the front. First time Forzan is leading here in Qatar. The only way I see a safety car is if somebody spins off the final corner, hits the pit wall entrance, or the pit wall, or if somebody half spins and is horizontal to the track, because the walls are very far. The closest wall is the final corner. So unless two drivers get into it, but it's very. I'd say it's kind of unlikely we'll get another safety car, which means, like I said, Bats is in great position. He could win this race. And why is that? Oh, well, the top 4, they could probably get to the end. But it's high tire wear here at Qatar. So I'd love to hear what their tire wear is right now, but obviously we don't have that information. There's F&D. Gets himself a time penalty. That's going to hurt his race because everybody around him for the time being does not have any time penalties. As he drops into the pit lane, he'll bring in Raikkonen as Sir Charles and Jose behind. Oh, yep. Jose speeding. You want to go quick, but you just don't want to go quick there. He'll catch you for 5 seconds. Don't. Pass go. Do not collect $200. That's what that means. Go directly to jail. You're guilty. Alright, back up front. It's Forzan to Silent to Remsley is your top 3. And you have a 7.5 second gap to Professional and Bats Plus, who's on the hard tires. And I am interested to see how this strategy works, as we've seen a lot of drivers just come into the pits to put on the fresh soft tires. GTR Lion did not grab the bait, and he is still out on track. And there we have it. Silent goes into the pit lane. And that is very surprising. Watch your speed. Oh, man, he nailed that perfectly. 48 is what I see on the dial. Okay. Wonder what Forzan's going to do. If they have team radio communications, they probably orchestrated that a little bit. It's getting good. This is an old school strategy race. It's the 2-stop versus the 1-stop. Does Bats Plus win? Does he grab 1? Can he grab 1? Let's see. Silent came out in 7th. And if you look at the interval to the leader, it's 24 to 9 and 9, around 9. So you do the math. That's the whatever that is. About 12 seconds. So he's around 12 seconds back from Bats Plus. With that many laps left on these soft tires, he'll be rapid. He can make that up. Here's Forzan into the pits. That leaves Remsley out. Now, does Remsley go to the end? Can he go to the end? His teammate, GTR Lion, he's still out on track. He's in 5th. Do the Alpines have something? Can they pull the mediums till the end? I don't know. Let's see where Forzan comes out. It'll definitely be behind Silent, who is just about to pass Camden Luca. It's kind of ironic. Camden picked the Haas livery P10 in our podcast, and he drives the Haas. Silence up to 5th. Forzan a little bit behind, but with slightly fresher tires. And he gets him in the hairpin right before it. The laps are ticking down, and you know what? I'm starting to get the feeling that the top 4 are going to stay out. And I think that is the correct choice. Remsley, don't pit now, because you ain't winning if you pit. Bring those babies to the end. Drive it like you stole it. He's got 9 seconds to work with to Bats, but if you look at the overall gap to, that's the wrong one. if you look at the gap to Silent, who he's really racing, it's 18 seconds. In that amount of laps, that's not happening, folks. It's just not happening. Now, he also has to play with 9 seconds to Bats Plus, because Bats is on the harder tire. He's going to have more grip than Remsley. And Professional might fall off. He is in the DRS, but I'm starting to get the feeling he's also losing some grip at this stage. But he has a 7-second gap to GT Line. But what Professional and GT and Bats might get overtaken, because Silent is up to GT. Cyanical asks, could Bats go to the end? He absolutely can, and he definitely will. You're not pitting now. The only time you're pitting is if you get a puncture. At this stage, you stay out. That you committed. GTR committed. And he's going to get a better finish overall, because he's fighting some other guys back in that train that he was in. So he has to do something alternate. So that is what he's opting for. Forzan clear as day around the outside. Good move. GTR gave him the space. That's respect. That's a fist pump right there. That's respect. But, man. Got 5 laps left, and Silent and Forzan, the Alfa Romeo duo, have 6.5 seconds to catch Bats Professional. Fastest lap, 22.5. Silent is tearing it out. What also makes this interesting, knock on wood, don't want to jinx anybody, the top 7 all are penalty free. So you don't want to give yourself a penalty, because then you're really losing time. And at this stage, every driver needs all the time they can get. 3 seconds you do not want to add, because this is going to get close. And I don't know. At this time, I honestly don't know who could win this. Because Silent and Forzan might catch Bats, but I doubt they catch Remsley. The only thing is, can Remsley get to the end? And then obviously, if Silent and Forzan do, which one of the Alfa Romeos do win it? Because now Forzan's the lead he's the lead Alfa Romeo. Do they get on the podium? You know, it's a long pit lane here at Qatar. So when they pitted, did they account for that extra few seconds in the pit lane? How must you feel if you're Remsley? You know, he's won on a Wednesday night, but he hasn't won in TCR's top class. He's never won a Platinum class race, and the equivalent would be an Elite Series win. Can he get to the end? Now, I will say from experience, the last few game cycles, we usually take our tires to a percentage of tire wear around 50 to 60, I would say, and then you usually pit. And people say, oh, I don't know if you can get the tires to wherever. But I always say, you definitely can, because you don't get punctures until around 80% or higher. So if you know you're going to the end and you commit to a strategy with 3 laps left, yeah, if you're at 50 to 60 or even 70% tire wear on a tire, you're not going to get the maximum tire, lap time. You're not going to maximize your lap time, but you can still ride around on that tire. You know, you're going to have low grip. You just have to be aware. You know, only the good drivers can really understand what can they get out of a tire, out of a strategy, and sometimes these things are the way to go. And there you have it. Look at Forzan now within DRS of the top or of these two, Bats and Professional. This should be quite easy on the straight, or well before. Now Professional, he's holding him up through the triple right. What does Professional do? Obviously, it's going to be hard. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, he's going to get past anyway. Professional knows that. He's not holding these two up. But how much of a pain in the ass does he want to be? That's the question. How much of a pain in the ass does he want to be? Because I would have used all my battery right here, and I would have passed his ass again. And look at this. Forzan almost hitting the back of Bats Plus, who we thought he could win this race. And at this point, he would have lost it because he's going to get overtaken. And that would have been that. He would have been a lap and a half short of what he needs. But Bats is also hard to get past. I mean, Bats and Professional, you want to talk about tough overtakers or tough defenders. Those are probably the two best in the game, best in the business. Bats and Professional, probably the two best in the business right now. Silent gets past his former teammate of Professional. They won the Constructors. Silent just needs one more position to get onto the podium. But starting the final lap of this race, Remsley in the Alpine. He has a 6-second gap to work with. Right now you're counting corner by corner. Couple hundred feet by couple hundred feet. You're looking at the next light post. You're looking at the next meter board. You're looking at the next marshal. One more corner. You don't have to go through that corner ever again. Do what you have to do to get through it. You never have to go through that hairpin again. That's what you got to be thinking of yourself. You don't have to be perfect. You don't even have to be great. You just have to be decent. And I have no idea what his tire wear is at this time. So that's why I'm saying you could even go more conservative. If you're at that puncture zone, try not to lock up. Try not to get that wheel spin. You don't want to have a moment. You want as minimal steering input as possible. But as we go through only 2 more corners, now 1, I think he could do it. At the start of this thing, I said Remsley came here to play. He wasn't using battery early on. He was up there with the 2 heavy hitters. From the Golden Class to the Elite Series, he grabs his first Elite Series win in style. Remsley wins the Qatar Grand Prix. And he had even a 3-second penalty to spare. He would have still won it by a 10. Bats gets 4th, marginally over Silent. Or the other way around. Double points for Haas. Camden over Raikkonen. Doesn't get better than that, folks. That's some old school strategy. I knew that would go green the entire way. Very hard to get a safety car here. And, you know what? Both Alpines did great because GTR Lion also had a good strategy there. It was better to stay out in his case than pit and get into that train and lose possibly more positions. And look at that, driver of the day, right on cue. Good day by Alpine. Good day by Alfa Romeo as well, but Remsley, oof, I am so happy for him. The amount of practice he and GTR Lion did last year to improve themselves and get quicker. I mean, it really is just a showcase of what you could do if you just put the time in. And I mean, I don't think if you ask him, do you think you could grab a win this season? He'd probably be like, yeah, maybe. You never know. You know, like, but probably not. The other guys might have an edge over you. But that was, I'd say, strategy, but also purely pace too, because he was sticking with them the entire first stint, and a lot of, the entire race. So you never know. He could have won it out on track if they stayed out and did the same strategy. So that was a pure win in my book. So the Canadian up on top. Silent grabs the fastest lap. He'll grab an extra point. He'll grab 16. We had a few DNFs. That's Zionical, KD, and Kluka. 16 finishers here tonight. We did not grab another 20 grid, so the streak ended. But hopefully we're back to 20 drivers next week, which is for Bahrain. We're going to do the post-race interviews right away. So if anyone has any questions for the top three, let me know. I'll have the YouTube comments up. Professional saying that he had 92% tire wear. Drivers are joining up here. What a finish to that race. What a finish. Alright, let's get this show in a row. We'll start with P3 in the Alfa Romeo. Silent after getting the pole position, leading a lot in this race, kind of going back and forth with Rems and your teammate. You definitely had the pace to win it here today. Decided to pit in that second for a second time, put on those soft tires, and you were the lead Alfa Romeo to do so, and it came up a little short in the strategy department, only P3, so that might...
Sorry, it's the... my bad.
As we hear some Sebastian Vettel cursing. But yeah, I guess whatever I said, take it from there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Disappointed?
No, I'm not really disappointed, believe it or not. I was talking to Forzan, and I did a little bit of running on, I think, Monday night, or Monday, I don't know. And I was having some car troubles, which I fixed, like, literally right before I joined with some setup idea. And then the car felt, like, fantastic. Like, my PB in qualifying, like, I never drove a lap like that ever, probably. It's probably like one of my best laps I've ever driven in qualifying, let alone with like no warm-up. Like, I've had good cars before, but there's always like little imperfections. But tonight, the setup that I had tonight was probably the best I've ever driven in like almost probably the entire game cycle. And like probably since 2019, at least for a very long time. Like, as far as I can remember, tonight's setup was probably the best I've ever driven. And then not really like I was telling Forzan before the race, and he can vouch. I really didn't want to race tonight. I didn't feel like getting on or anything. I'm usually very not upbeat before the races, and then he gets me to log on, and he kicks my butt in to make sure I get online anyway. And I do that. And tonight, I guess, I don't know. Of course, I got a P3, you got P2, and we didn't win tonight. But I'm like, this is the most satisfied I've ever been with my driving, almost ever. And yeah, probably the pole lap. I think that's, I don't know. I can't stop thinking about it. That's probably one of my best banker lap and my best ever pole lap I've ever driven. Both of them were extremely clean laps, and the race itself, like lap after lap, so much consistency. The car felt perfect every single lap. Usually you have like a little wiggle or a little wobble because of the tire wear or the tires getting to the cliff, and I didn't have that, which is like a first. And I can never. Tonight I felt like I cracked the perfect recipe for once, and it's just so hard to get. So that's why I'm still happy with the race, even though it was a strategic blunder. But yeah.
What do you think contributes to trying to lock and find it all like you did today? Is it this game? Is it the setup? Is it the driving? What is it? What do you think?
I feel like the setup is like a good chunk of it, and also knowing where like what corner it might be, or taking ideas from other people, inspiration from other people's setups, which I tried to do tonight. And yeah, I don't know. I got the perfect recipe, the perfect blend of everything in the setup. So yeah, I think partially with setup. This is a track I do enjoy, like the flow of it, high speed corners everywhere. That's the stuff that I like absolutely love. So maybe it's also that, but yeah, it's just everything came together tonight besides the strategy. But you can't have everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, I props to you. I mean, all three of you guys looked really great out there. No penalties either. So that's hard to do around here.
Yeah.
And at that pace is quite impressive. But what I was gonna say is, at what point were you like, is Rems gonna pit, or because at some point you're like, oh, he's not pitting, he's staying out. At what point were you like, we still got this? Do we not got this? Like, what were you thinking in those last few laps?
I knew it was going to be a tall order to make that gap back up, and I think I was really second doubting myself the entire time because I couldn't do the mental math while I was driving.
Right.
But I knew the only variable that I knew was that everybody on the mediums or that didn't switch tires from the safety car, they would have at least 70-80% wear by the end. So usually 70 to 80% wear or more is almost a guaranteed puncture. And I didn't want to risk a potential win with a puncture, and that's just kind of where the idea came from. But I knew the lap that I pitted was probably the very last lap that I could have had a chance. But I just second guessed myself the entire time because I didn't think that. I figured that the differential between the fresh soft and a completely torn up or medium would be like bigger than what it was, and I also anticipated a puncture because usually that's what happens. But yeah, like I said, I was second guessing myself in the like 3 laps before I pitted, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I heard, and we'll get to Rems obviously, but Professional said that one of his tires were at 92%, and he was also on those mediums. So yeah, it was nail biting to the end. But yeah, you looked good out there, and that's good to hear that you had a really good race. Sometimes some of your best races aren't necessarily wins, and I think that's something a lot of the drivers have to realize, maybe more in the mid-pack or even towards the rear, is that the win is not everything. It's can you maximize yourself, right? And what you can get out of the car and the setup and the circumstances. And if you can do that, you can come away from a race thinking, oh, all right, that was a good one. So good to hear that from you. Good race, and we'll see you next week at Bahrain.
Yep. Thank you.
We'll go to Forzan now. Forzan, also in that top group, you also decided to pit 1 lap later. Obviously, I'm assuming you guys had race voice chat. Did you know Silent was going to pit, or was there communication of when you both were pitting?
No, it was pretty funny actually, because we literally said like a few corners before he pit that we were gonna risk it and stay out. Then when he went inside anyway, I was like, oh, okay. So I just went, okay, I'll just box on the next lap, and because yeah, just like Silent, I was just so sure that the other guys were gonna get a puncture. I also knew that if I would have stayed out, at least I would have gotten a puncture because I'm Mr. Unlucky, always.
That is a good point.
So I just didn't want to risk it, and I told Silent before the race tonight that I literally, like, my first laps on the game in like a week, and on this track in like 6 months or something since we last did Qatar. I literally hopped on like 15 minutes before, just tried a setup, and then I went into the race. So I'm really happy, even though I finished second. I didn't really maximize. I got that invalidated lap at the final corner in quali. Would have been second with that lap. Yeah, not too much to add. Just screw you, Rems, for your tires surviving.
Well, the last thing I was going to ask is just it seemed pretty much throughout the race it just was a pretty, orchestrated slipstream train. I mean, was it really just that? At what point were you pushing? Because it seemed like at one point all you guys had a lot of battery, so you were kind of sitting P3. It was Rems and Silent for the most part switching positions, and you were just kind of sitting in third. Was that the mindset throughout most of it?
Yeah. I was just trying to stay behind there, and then when I got past Silent for the lead, I just started pushing a bit more to try and build a big gap, maybe.
Nice.
But yeah, other than that, yeah, no, I'm happy. Nobody really gained anything in the championship on me either. So extended my championship lead more, so I'm still happy. This is exactly what I need to be doing this season. Just be consistent and be on the podium.
Absolutely, and if you keep doing that, good things will come. So, yeah, definitely good race by you, and now you got yourself another podium. Good pace all around, and not much more to add. I think you guys, it was kind of a straightforward race. And
I just got.
Simon kind of mentioned a lot about the strategy, that you kind of did the same thing. So, yeah, good stuff.
I just gotta add though that Silent just went full Alonso mode, just like, yeah, this is the best race of my career.
This is the best race.
Because it was. I'm so proud of it. I'm actually uploading it to YouTube so everybody can watch.
I feel like every race that Alonso does is his best race.
I am 41 years old. I am at the peak of my fitness.
Yeah, I feel like
Race of my
the championship. Best race of my career, best driver on the grid. Good stuff, guys. Let's get to the man of the hour, the Alpine driver, and I'm gonna say that was a welly driven drive there by you, and you absolutely deserved it. Obviously, strategy difference, but you were out there for the entire race with these two setting great lap times. You didn't get a penalty. You had a good quality. That was an execution race. Congratulations, your first win in the newly formed Elite Series, and you definitely went up against some of the best in TCR, so that must be, after first few rounds of not the best of Rems, you must be absolutely thrilled to get this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy. Like you said, past few races I had a couple unlucky breaks. Got hit into the pits in Canada, I believe, which gave me a 5-second penalty and kind of ruined my race. But this was a new one, and I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, beginning of the race, I was just aiming to split up Silent and Forzan. I didn't want to let Forzan pass because I knew they were quick. So I did that for a while, ended up getting a bit of a tap, which lost me maybe like 0.5. Then used a bit of my battery to try and gain back into DRS. That didn't work, so kind of just chilled after that. tried to regain my battery. And after the pit stop, I did a bit of mental math, and I honestly thought I would be at less wear at the end of the race. I finished with my front left was on 82.
Ooh.
That was the highest. So I was definitely getting close, and as soon as they pitted, I started trying to save tires.
Right.
So I did the most there, and I was definitely super close to, like, I think another sector or two, and I would have had a puncture.
Interesting.
But I wanted to test out how long I could go. I'm still pretty new to league racing, so I figured try it out, and it ended up working. But it was a super fun race. Good battles with them.
Now, at what point did you know you had the pace before the last pit stop? At what point did you know you had the pace to where you're like, oh, I'm matching pace with it, like I'm in the conversation tonight?
I mean, obviously Silent put in a really good quality lap, and that kind of second guessed me.
Right.
But I felt pretty good even before the race. Like, this is one of my better tracks. So, felt pretty good about it.
Oh, so you were coming in like, oh, all right. Oh, that I like that. Oh, you came in knowing. You came in. That's good. I like.
Yeah,
that.
and like most tracks, I feel like I have a decent amount of pace. Maybe not enough to keep up with the top guys, but definitely like top 5.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up screwing myself with strategy more often than not, and that's where I have to learn the most.
Now, at what point? Now you nailed the strategy here tonight. At what point did you say or think I'm actually going to stay out? Was that were you always going to stay out, or was it
I was
dictated?
second guessing. I was second guessing myself the whole time. Like when they pitted, the lap after Forzan pitted, I was thinking like I should probably go in, but that's when I looked at my tire wear, and at that point I was at like 55.
Ooh, wow.
And I did another lap. I think I went up to like 60. So I was like, it's gonna be super close, but at that point it was already too late to pit. Like I would have been seconds behind them.
Yeah, well, those are always the funnest races, you know, when you're doing the risky strategy call, and you kind of work with the gap that you're given, and you executed it great because Professional had, like he mentioned, 92%, so he had 10% more wear than you did on one of the tires. So obviously you had more of a gap to work with to conserve than he did. He was still battling with Bats Plus for position. But you know, you nailed that very nicely, and I think you still had a little bit more percent in those tires if need be. But you really never know when the tire's going to go. But that's very nice, and I do think you have the pace top 5 and through most, if not all, the tracks that we go to, because I know you and GT do your preparation, and if you all execute your quality in your race, you know, you should be getting podiums, top 5s, and competing for the wins. So it was cool to see you get your first win here in the Elite Series. So good job, very well done.
Yep, thank you.
Alright, and that is going to do it here tonight. A strategy call race to decide it. It is Remsley and the Alpine to get it done over the 2 Alfa Romeos. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in on your Wednesday evening to watch some TCR. Next week we are at Bahrain for the Challenger Series and the Elite Series, Tuesday and Wednesday, 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time. You can check the description for more information. You can sign up on our website, join the grid, join our Discord. We have the new podcast that released yesterday. Go check that one out. We also have iRacing Thursdays. It's not streamed yet, but if we find a commentator who wants to be my guest, you can definitely do that. Those are Thursday nights. We've been running the Super Formula. It's a work in progress. It's not as pristine, organized class as these, as we just switched over to iRacing. But that's been a lot of fun to start that thing out. Other than that, it's been C-Freeze. Thank you all for watching. From everyone back at TCR, until next time, have a good night, everybody.